Loading. Loading. Success.
130. Definitely stop that cam for me right there. Trust me, keep letting hopefully over this fire line.
I didn't get home until midnight last night after having to deal with Elizabeth. The moment I got in bed, I didn't get much sleep at all. So the beginning of my workday has already been a long one. And later on, I have a scheduled watchman visit with Burlow and another ringer assignment of mine. Ugh, I'm not looking forward to this one. Sitting across from me right now at my desk is a ringer named Mateo who just woke up yesterday. His death plan specified he wanted his ringer appearance to be from his 30s. His clothes, like any other new ringer at Marco Vito, is a white shirt with a large purple Marco Vito logo on the front along with matching pants. It's a required wardrobe that all 2-week observation period ringers have to wear while living on Marco Vito property. Almost immediately, I could tell that I would have to deem Mateo unfit. He kept getting up from his seat and distractedly wandering the room as if he forgot where he was. Several times he would even forget that we were in the middle of a conversation as he went silent and his eyes wandered off. It's sad because his family, who are all ringers, are awaiting his return. In his death plan, he volunteered his ringer body to be donated if he didn't pass his 2-week observation period. According to his family and those who know him, he was a very giving and sweet man in his human years. He did a lot of volunteer work and helped assist in raising funds for the less fortunate. It seems he wanted to continue giving even after his death. As he wanders my office looking at my small plaques and pictures and decorations, I let out a sigh and put the final notes on my projected unfit form that was in front of me. He then grabs my degree that was framed and hanging on my wall. Holding it with both hands, he begins to mumble to himself as he stares at it. I look over at him as he drags his fingers across it as if savoring a memory. That's where you met your first wife, right? Ignoring my question, he begins to hum a song. Abruptly, he stops humming, then stares at my degree. Suddenly, he shouts and violently throws it to the ground, shattering the frame. I shake my head before tapping the projected sensor on my desk. Without a wasted moment, Mateo goes limp and his head drops after my tap powers him off. 2 men dressed in black and purple uniforms walk in, followed by a hovering dolly. Ringers were typically put on them to get them from point A to B when they were no longer in their own control. I silently sulk as Mateo is taken out of my office. For the next 2 or so hours, I had appointment after appointment until it was finally lunchtime. Before I could stand up to leave, my computer alerts me that I have a request for a sit-down by my HRO, Meg. Here we go, I say out loud to myself as I greenlight it. Last night before I went to bed, I sent a report with a request to have an investigation on the Marco Vito Tech Spectre department. Naturally, Meg wouldn't be happy with that since it would stir up a controversy and get the attention of the big bosses. Nobody wants their Marco Vito location under a magnifying glass by the board members, especially the group of people who are supposed to be in charge at a location, like Meg. After a moment, Meg finally walks in with a civil yet cold expression on her face. Southern African and about 14 years my senior, Meg has been an HRO for about 8 or 9 years.
Hell do you think you're doing, sending in a request to investigate the Tech Spectre department?
Did you not read the report? Elizabeth's strength cap was raised to 75%. Only the Marco Tech Spectre's department have the tools to access that, which means someone here could possibly be involved with Hopper.
Do you not remember that 4 months ago, Marco Vito did a worldwide investigation on all Marco Vito Tech Spectre departments?
I nod my head at her reluctantly, but before I could even open my mouth, she stops.
And was our location cleared?
She asked in a wide-eyed, knowing tone. Yes, we were cleared, Meg, but that...
Nope, you just said it. We were clear. So why in the hell are you trying to give the board members any doubt that we aren't?
Because there is doubt that we aren't. We've hired new employees since then, haven't we?
You know what? I have an idea. How about you let the police handle this? If the police find out that the Hoppers are hopping their little fluffy bunny criminal asses this way, then we'll do what we do on our end. Until then, out of the question. You don't seem to grasp the fact that what you're insinuating could get this location put on lockdown. The board will think people here don't know how to run things since employees are throwing out very serious accusations. If you want to point fingers, you better make damn sure you have the evidence first. Not possibilities, not maybe, evidence. Do I make myself clear?
She stares me down with a finality in her tone. I just suck my bottom lip and look away with a simple nod of my head.
Good.
I look back at her with an annoyance tugging at me. So what happened to Elizabeth's surveillance footage, huh? I ask in an accusatory tone. Meg, not appreciating it, stares at me for a moment, but then relents with a sigh.
Look, Kryselle, I am not involved in the games that happened with that girl. It's way above both of our pay grades to worry about. Just do your job to the best of your abilities when it comes to that
I just
one.
roll my eyes and sit back in my seat as she continues.
We've all had to deal with an Elizabeth during our careers. My advice is to just let her bring herself to her own end. Don't get your hands dirty in her own downfall. Trust me.
I shake my head. So that's it? Just let her do what she wants. Let her hurt who she wants. Let her continue getting people fired. Just continue allowing her to live on while others suffer for their consequences. It's not right, and I'm being forced to play a role in it.
That's where you're wrong. Nobody is forcing you to do anything. This is nothing but advice, which I very much hope you follow because you're a damn good RO. Don't poke the bear and let things out of your hands and mess with your career. We've all had to look the other way sometimes, Kryselle. It's just life. Nobody said this was a simple black and white job.
I couldn't believe this bullshit. In the 4 years of my career as an RO, nothing could have prepared me for this kind of crap. I knew all the big companies had their dark blind spots, but this was beyond infuriating. To be fair, Meg was probably in the same boat as me, having the ones above her telling her to work with her head down. It's likely where she learned it from. Meg smirks at me.
At least you managed to get her on a room lock for 2 weeks. I mean, come on.
I'm bursting with joy, I say sarcastically.
How about instead of worrying so much about Elizabeth, you worry about getting you a dress and a date for the King's Ball? I heard it's the fancy party of the century.
This was an obvious attempt for her to lighten the mood, just like when a mother yells at you about something ridiculous and tries to cozy up to you after. The King's Ball is in a week in Rashidi, the Golden City. It's home to Saturn's king and queen, and it's also thousands of miles away on the other side of Saturn. All first-time invites get a chauffeured sky access ride and hotel accommodations for the whole weekend. I have yet to even acknowledge to myself that I'm even still taking the trip. Every year, a couple of employees from big companies get hand-chosen for an invite. Marco Vital Force was one of many on that long list. This year, I was nominated by Marco Vital as one of the handful of employees eligible to go. I'm supposed to be excited since it's a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing. People would kill to be in my place. I mean, I am, after all, going to be among the king and queen and other famous people. Thing is, I honestly feel like it's just Marco Vital's way of kissing my ass for, putting up with Elizabeth and her dad. I have a +1 invitation for a date. That's a laugh. I haven't dated anyone since my bad breakup a few months ago. I'd invite my sister Anita, but her husband, and my niece are out of town until next week. I shake my head dismissively at Meg's comment. I don't think I'll even be going to that thing. I'm honestly not in the mood to be surrounded by upper-class assholes, especially since Elizabeth's family will be there, more specifically, Hyson. This will be her first year not being able to go, so I already know him seeing me there will just add gasoline to the fire. Meg looks at me like my ears just sprung into elf ears.
Screw that and screw the land drops. Don't make them your excuse to pass up on such a big experience. Hell, I wish I could
Meg
go.
then turns and begins to walk out of my office.
Go have some fun. That's in order.
She says playfully before my door slides shut behind her. How can she come in here to rip me a new one just to end it with "go have fun"? Ugh. Back when I had a boyfriend, I was planning to take him, but now that I'm single as all hell, the thought of me going alone is like a rain cloud over my head. Nobody that I personally know will be there. Maybe a few people that I occasionally walk past in the hallways, but that's about it. Ugh, man, I really, seriously need to blow off some steam. Definitely heading over to the training academy after my visit to Watchmen. In order to become an RO, it's required that you do some partial gun and combat training alongside police academy officers. I wasn't always a fighter or even someone with much confidence. One of the reasons I became a ringer observer was to force myself to grow as a person. My family thought I was nuts because it's the last kind of job they expected me to go for. Being an RO is one of the toughest jobs a person can have. Not everyone can handle the heavy responsibilities that come with it. I used to be the quiet, good girl as a kid and a teen. For that, I became an easy target to be used, made fun of, or treated badly. I missed out on a lot of things that average teens experienced. Not only was I too nervous about making myself look like an idiot in front of people, but I never wanted to disappoint my loving parents by doing things I shouldn't do. Once I was given the obedient child label, I never veered from it. While everyone in my teen years were hooking up, partying, and sneaking out to constantly invent new shit a teen shouldn't do, I was always home. My hobbies were reading, watching shows, and playing video games. Loved it. The very few friends that I did have were all closer to each other than they were to me. Thinking back on it, they just seemed nice enough to keep me around sometimes, honestly. My older sister Anita, on the other hand, was the loud, fun, and crazy wild child with a big social life. When it came to Anita, I've had to cover for her shenanigans more times than I can count. My sister was like my personal bodyguard during our childhood. Anytime I got picked on or she could tell that someone was being a jerk, she was ready to strangle them. We were complete opposites, but we were still really close. I looked up to her when things really counted. The stuff I cried about was the stuff she easily shrugged off. When I couldn't speak up for myself, she spoke up for me. My last 2 years in high school, I was forced to be on my own without Anita around me for the first time. She graduated the year prior and immediately left Saturn for a college scholarship on Mars. Things got more intense without her around to protect me. There were these group of girls who never really liked my sister. Me being an easy, mousy target, plus being Anita's sister, was a recipe for disaster. Why even her being gone still made them resent her through me, I just couldn't understand. The false rumors, the pranks, the whispers, the pointing, the giggling, the pure intimidation that they constantly had over me was overbearing, and they loved it. When my sister was around, people just quietly talked about me, but nobody dared to try directly bullying me. Now that she was gone, they began putting their hands on me and took the taunting to extreme levels. I felt like I was in an old corny 90s teen program. I just never got a moment's peace with all the cruel setups that I walked straight into. One day, in the middle of my senior year, I was in a bad mood after getting my Rio game connector stolen from my desk. If there was a top 5 favorite things that I owned at the time, that was on the list. I remember when I spotted the same group of girls who hated me attempting to play with it. They didn't know what they were doing. They kept claiming it wasn't mine, which I knew was total bullshit since I customized its appearance. After the ringleader got tired of trying to figure out how to work it, she dropped it on the ground and stomped on it. She then aimed her sights on me and shoved me and taunted me with harsh words. I was almost about to walk away because me and conflict never mixed. I was an easygoing girl. I never liked being angry or mad at someone. But this time, it was different. Something came over me. I was so tired of being treated so badly for no reason. I was tired of doing nothing but minding my business, yet somehow people still managed to put a mocking spotlight on me. Fist balled up and anger bubbling in my veins. I finally, without warning, punched the girl hard in the face. I proceeded to whoop her ass while her friends and my ex-friends shockingly watched. More kids ran over and began recording with their reels for their own entertainment. After realizing she wasn't getting in any punches, the rest of her friends pulled me off her and started kicking and hitting me. A few of the teachers finally ran through the crowd of students to pull them off. I was left bloody and bruised. Surprisingly, instead of feeling the crushing weight I always imagined would come with the consequences of going against who I thought I was, I felt free. My shift in personality didn't happen overnight. That's just unrealistic. I simply slowly learned to stop giving so much of a fuck. 45 minutes later, I'm at the Watchman facility standing in front of Barcelo's office door. Across the room, Barcelo stands in another crisp suit as he stares at his large whiteboard screen. He's rubbing at his bearded chin as he reads over Otis's profile. Otis is the ringer that has brought me back here today. He's been showing violent tendencies and it's reared its ugly head after he pushed another ringer down a flight of stairs. If that ringer was a human, he would have broken his neck in 3 places along with his spine before dying. After a moment, Barcelo looks over in my direction and gives me a handsome half grin.
Are you ready for this?
As ready as I'll ever be. Is his family on the way? I ask as I walk over to look at the profile with him.
Well, his father and stepmother are here. His brother couldn't make it today, but he'll be here in the morning.
Barcelo shakes his head.
I really did think Otis could turn around. He was fine. Well, for a while at least. He's only had 1 month to go, but I guess it's good that he opted out while still here, rather than out in the world, someone could have been
I
killed.
nod my head, then turn around and walk over to take a seat in one of his chairs.
Guess what? He's claiming the Queen effect.
I roll my eyes. Not this again. The Quinn effect was a made-up diagnosis. It supposedly explained why some ringers act out. Up to this point, it's always nothing but a way for ringers to try saving themselves at the last minute. The Quinn effect was named after Quinn Rogers, an ex-RO who apparently lost his mind in conspiracy theory world. According to Quinn, some ringers for a short period become zombie robots and act out. With that being a fact to him, he let plenty of his ringers slide by with this thought process. It was what cost him his job. Instead of marking the troubled ringers as unfit, he kept them around to study them. The last straw was when one of them killed an entire family. To be fair, nobody wants to listen to a man who believes he's seen leprechauns. Also, Quinn's hair apparently whispers to him. Maybe he's the insane type with some truth to their stories, who knows? But overall, I wasn't volunteering to be the one to find the truth within his crazy. 20 minutes later, me and Barcelo are sitting face to face with Otis, his father, and his stepmother. His father is a young ringer, and his stepmother is an elderly human. From what I understood, his father died a few years ago while still married to his stepmother. It was taboo, but it was a normal taboo these days. There are those who leave each other once they die. Some people take that whole until death do you part marriage rule to the heart. Considering Otis's father has still been around for several years, proved that not everyone applied that marriage rule. He likely really loved his wife, which was touching.
It wasn't me. My ringer body made me want to
Otis,
push him.
I'm going to tell you for the last time, you need to lower your voice.
You want me to be calm, yet I'm getting marked as unfit for something that was out of my control. It's not fair. The Quinn effect took control
I
of me.
shake my head at his words as Barcelo speaks to him.
Otis, it's been very, very rare and true that ringer bodies have acted on their own. And on those rare occasions when it does, it's never violent. It's small things like walking quicker than intended or opening doors slower than intended, but never completing an entire act on its own.
Bullshit.
So the first 2 incidences were you, but this one wasn't? Otis nods his head.
That's what I'm
And
saying.
you didn't say, and I quote, I have to destroy him before he destroys me.
Yeah, I said that. What I'm saying is I didn't act on it. My ringer body acted on it. Me saying that was just word vomit. I was caught in a moment.
Here is what we'll do. I'm going to have your ringer body tested. If they find that you have a faulty part causing your ringer to act out, then you'll be excused and this visit won't count. The catch is, if they find nothing, you will immediately be destroyed. There will be no trial and there will be no grace period time to spend with your family. It will be out of my control because it will basically be me handing you over to them. You will no longer be my responsibility. You will be theirs.
That's ridiculous.
Says his father, who was sitting next to him.
So you're saying he can either get destroyed immediately or get destroyed next week?
I'm just giving Otis his choices. Who knows, maybe they will find something, but I'm letting you know that it will not be likely.
We're sorry that it's come to this. I genuinely believe that it's been your mind playing tricks on you, Countess. Me and you have spoken about these time and time again. You admitted to not trusting or liking your roommate, so we got you into a new room. You both haven't seen or interacted with each other for about a month. The moment you laid your eyes on him, witnesses say you were shouting at him and trying to start a fight. I think your mental state has simply just been getting worse. It's unfortunate, but it's the truth, and it's the risk that comes with this. Don't take the small amount of time you have left with your family on a bad gamble. Just take the trial.
Otis angrily shakes his head at Barcelo's words and abruptly stands up.
This is bullshit, Barcelo. It's not fair. I was doing so good. It's not fucking
He
fair.
shouts with tears prickling his eyes.
It's not
Otis's
fair.
father stands up to grab him and calm him down, but Otis pushes him off, causing his dad to fall to the ground. In a fit of rage, Otis violently swipes at all of Barcelo's things off his desk. Small figurines and picture frames loudly shatter to the ground.
It's not
I
fair.
grab my cuff magnets and slap them on his wrist. Immediately, he gets yanked to the wall like Elizabeth last night. Otis's stepmother slowly stands up and begins to shuffle herself out of the room as she cries. She was distraught and clearly didn't want to be amongst the heartbreaking commotion. I walk over to Otis, who was now suddenly calm, as tears continued rolling down his face.
You really fucked up this time, Otis. You really fucked up this
He
time.
whispers this to himself with a shake of his head. Otis, I know this is all hard. I really am sorry.
I want the test.
I look at Barcelo and nod my head at him.
Otis, no! You know as much as we all do that they won't find anything.
Says Otis's father as Barcelo helps him up from the ground. Barcelo's eyes flash purple, and in a matter of moments, two Marco Vadaforce ringer testers walk in. One reads off a disclosure along with his rights before making him electronically initial his name.
Please, you have to stop him.
Yells his father at me. I sympathize with you, sir, but it's his choice to make. I can't stop him. With Otis still cuffed, the testers pull up a screen from their wrists and begin typing in the code that I've seen several times throughout my career. Otis looks at his dad.
I love you.
He says through tears. Suddenly, all life leaves his face and he just stands stiffly before dropping his head. Just like that, he was nothing more than a machine. The testers put him on the floating dolly and hover him out of the room. Seething with anger, Otis's father walks up to me. He holds up his finger to my face and begins to speak, but struggles to find the words as his own tears begin to well up.
Go comfort your wife, sir.
Says Barcelo as he walks over to us. Otis's father continues to stare at me for a few moments before finally looking over at Barcelo.
You know he was a good kid, Barcelo. You know he was
He
trying.
says this with a look of pain in his face.
Sometimes just wanting to be better isn't enough, sir.
Otis's father looks down with a shake of his head, then turns and finally walks out of the office. After a short moment of silence, Barcelo speaks first.
This will never get easier.
He says as he turns and walks over to the big mess on the floor. I close my eyes and put my hands on my hips as I drop my head back. I roll my neck, then straighten myself up and walk over to help Barcelo clean up the mess. No, it definitely won't. I pick up one of his broken laser frames, which is holding a photo of his large family. I've seen the picture every time I visited his office over the past 4 years. His large family is gathered together at a park. A few young kids and young adults, middle-aged adults, and older loved ones are all hugged up and posed. From the looks of it, they all had a fun day. You have a beautiful family. I say with a smile as I look at the photo. Barcelo looks up at me and smiles. Where are you in the photo? I ask him as my eyes trail over the large group of faces trying to find his. Barcelo lets out a quick chuckle with a shake of his head.
Huh. Working. Since I couldn't attend, they took that picture and framed it and sent it to my job that same day. It was a pleasant surprise.
I smile, but it quickly fades as a thought begins to gnaw at me. I then gently lay the photo on his desk. You know, it's days like this that reminds me of how unfair it is that Elizabeth gets away with so much bullshit. She gets to see her dad as much as she wants, no matter what she does. Yet it's okay to take these other ringers away from their loved ones for doing far less. I blurted this statement out without even thinking first. Barcelo pauses but doesn't say anything. He looked like he had his own thoughts bouncing around. I shake my head at myself. Damn it. I'm sorry. I know that's probably the last name you want to hear right now, and I don't blame you. Barcelo stands up with an armful of broken objects, then dumps it in a trash can that hovers over to him.
It's fine. I feel the same way, but I find that the more I think about it, the more it starts to eat at me too much. The thing about our job is, if we think too hard about things, we'll never survive it. People need us to survive.
I finally stand myself up, then throw away the trash as a small vacuum cleaner makes its way over. Yeah, I know you're right, but something's gotta give.